So as you're filling out this is the second meeting. It's called the fact-finding meeting. They brought in all their information. You have their budget. I would first go through their budget and walk through it and see if it's exactly, if you guys are on the same page as to what the budget is, what's coming in, what's going out. It's such an important tool. Then I usually open up the Navigator Fact Finder, and what I do is I start with a 100-person story. The 100-person story is really just talking to them about when I put together a sound financial strategy for people and try to prepare for life's uncertainties. I find it's a progression, a 3-step progression. The first step is really the foundation. So what you're really going to do is you're going to try to start living within your means. You're going to have some emergency reserves, some insurance planning, and some systematic savings. That's really the foundation phase. After that, what you're going to do is move into the accumulation phase, and that's really where you're going to start increasing your savings, minimizing your taxes, and updating your insurance needs. And people kind of do that through their 30s and 40s and getting in towards retirement. And then in retirement is a distribution phase, and so you're going to try to maintain your purchasing power, and we want to plan for that now, and preserve capital, and then plan for any incapacities or any illnesses, and do some estate and legacy planning. So all of these are the different phases of your financial strategy, so it's a work in progress. So we'll want to meet every year and kind of see where the steps are and how we're progressing. The reason we do this is because if you looked at 100 people at age 25 and you went down and looked at the same 100 people at age 65, we'd find that 66% of those 100 people were financially dependent on someone else. And I know that's shocking, but it's really true. And 18 are financially independent, and unfortunately 16 are gone. So if we looked at that model, out of those 100 people, you probably want to be one of the 18, right? So what I'm going to do is, I've told you kind of the system that I usually work through, but I really like to focus on your priorities today, and since you both weren't here for the initial meeting, what I'd like you to do is go through here and give me high, medium, or low to each of these types of priorities and tell me where we should start for today. So they're going to do that, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to go through back with them. They don't have to agree, and I always tell them that. But at the end of the day, if they're circling the same things as high, medium, and low, we're going to start with the high. So we determine right then and there which things we're going to address. We're not going to fill out this whole book. I mean, we'd be there for 4 hours. So what we're going to do is take the high priorities, go to the next page, look at the table of contents to say which sections do you need to fill out in order to do those priorities. And then we're going to start into the thing. Now, the page 1 is the page, the discovery process is a page you want to do with everybody, but you don't want to do the whole page. You want to pick 4 or 5. And I typically pick, you know, what would you like to accomplish with our time today? That's a pretty good one. So who's been your main source of information in making your financial decision? I think that's a good one. And then something about the 3-year goals or the 3 to 20-year goals, and ask if, I've asked everyone almost if they think they'll inherit money in the future. And that might sound like a really corny, cheesy one, but it's funny how people react to that. People have some thoughts. I mean, I hear all the time, you know, absolutely not. My parents are, you know, living paycheck to paycheck. Well, let's keep that in mind. We should probably talk about that later, because you're going to keep that in mind. Or what if they say, I don't know, my parents are traveling all over the world, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and although I think they have a lot of money, I don't know if they'll have any left for me. Well, you might want to meet with their parents, right? So it's good to find out what's going on in their family situation, and it kind of opens the door to their attitude towards their parents and, you know, what their parents are doing. So I do ask that, and then on the next page I say, speaking of your parents, tell me a little bit about where you grew up. And I ask some of these questions, again, 3 or 4, not all of them. Funny how people will tell their backgrounds, and their backgrounds will show how money was used in their upbringing. And typically people follow their backgrounds, and they're not always the same. One of them's a spender and one of them's a saver, and that's usually where a lot of the marital battles go on. So you want to kind of bring these things to the surface just so you know who's got which perspective. And then I soften it up with page 3, because page 3 is going through getting their name. It's all the technical stuff you would normally get when you went to the doctor, the birthday, the cell phones. make sure you don't skip over this. Get the cell phone, get the email, find out if they text. If you're with an older person, make sure they do text. Marital status, their children. Find out if their children are both their own. So when I'm softening things up on 3, I typically will ask about if they're married, and I'll ask what their wedding date is, and then I'll say, how did you guys meet each other? And you get some fun stories, and what you'll see is that just kind of the tension of worrying about sharing their financials just kind of goes down. You've built some trust now, and so ask that. Talk about their employer information and whether they have other income sources. I find a lot of people do like home parties, or maybe they get a Christmas gift every year from somebody, or they get a bonus check at the end of the year from their employer. I mean, you don't want to forget those incomes because they're a part of it. Or do they get tax returns? Some people get, standardly deduct enough that they get back a tax return. So that might be another source of money. And then you go on to the next page and you have to decide whether this was something that was going to come up, life insurance. And then you pick whichever areas. The key to this guide is, you kind of learn it pretty well, but the key is that all the blue are necessary in order to do the analysis tool I'm going to show you. And all of the yellow are the feeling questions that help build that relationship, which builds the trust, which also helps give you a clue as to what the recommendations should be, because they're not the same for everybody. So if I go in to do the life insurance, they're really going to talk about each type of life insurance and why they have what they have, and have they programmed it out. And that's where the LifeFul comes in, and I'm going to send you guys a video of that as well. The LifeFul is the life insurance for the living, and it's a programming out tool to analyze how much they need, how much life insurance they need, and then you got to think about how much can they afford, and then you have to think about which kind is best. There's really lots of layers to this. So as you go through, there's the retirement planning. Again, same format. Yellow is the feelings, blue is the facts, and you need to try to fill in the blue. And they even have a financial data thing in the back. So, and an asset allocation questionnaire. Whether your security is licensed or not, if they're talking about investments, I'd fill out this asset allocation questionnaire, because then you can get someone else to come in the next meeting and they'll already know. What an asset allocation questionnaire is what is their financial comfort zone? Are they willing to be aggressive in their investing? Are they more comfortable being very conservative? Sort of what is their market experience and willingness? So that's page 14 and 15, and they could fill that out. And then if you go to the back, I like doing page 18 and 19, which is the budget determination. Kind of sitting down and talking to them as I sit through this, and I look through some of the things that we've talked about today, and I'm going to put together a full analysis. And if I do decide that there are some programs or products that you need, I'd like to have a working budget with which I need to work with it, because I would like to get you the most bang for your buck. And then I talk about the wrap-up. We've discussed a lot of things today, but one thing I know we mentioned was that at some point you want to get a will. I know we mentioned the life insurance. I mean, just kind of going through what we're trying to come up with in this meeting. And then I will set the meeting for next time. If ever they start getting on a roll about where they were brought up and I have overfilled the pages, there's this nice page in the back, and I can always turn back to it and just start writing. Because sometimes you get some really good stories. And this is the meeting that really sets up the presentation meeting. I mean, you really need to dive deep enough in this meeting to get all those conversations out. Some pain points to why they need to do what they need to do. And you'll probably even see where you're headed with these prior to any analysis, but they won't. So they might get a little disturbed about, yeah, we really don't have any life insurance on me, but then you need to say, well, is that something we need? And you need to kind of keep peeling back that onion, we say, to kind of see how that is going to unfold. And they'll joke around sometimes, like I'm not worth anything, or she'll just go downtown and find somebody new as soon as I'm gone. But the heart of the deal is, the real thing is, if they love their family, that's going to bother them. So they have to kind of feel that in this meeting. And then you also want to remind them about the fact that, so the next meeting going forward is, I'm going to come back with some ideas and some solutions. I am going to program out what your retirement needs are, and I'm gonna back that up and say, what are some small steps we could take on the way to that goal? And we've programmed out the life insurance, so I'll come back with some ideas and solutions for that. And then in that meeting, we'll wanna decide, you know, how that would work moving forward if you'd like to implement some of those things. So we will make some decisions the next time. And then also as a reminder, I do want at some point after this is all over, if you're pleased with the work I do, I really want to sit down and show you my business development plan, which is just really my way of growing my business through referrals. So, is that okay? That fair? All right, good, thanks. So that's kind of how the talking language goes, and you're gonna wanna make sure that you cover that BDP in every single meeting, because if you don't prep them for it, it comes as a surprise. I've had people come to this meeting with a list already. I mean, you know, oh, when do I do those names, whatever. I mean, it sounds corny, but it's true. I mean, people get, especially if they were referred to you, they know that they're gonna be doing that. And it doesn't come as a surprise, and it makes your life a lot easier. Okay, you can turn that off.